Throughout the week, we have had a look at how the newspapers are telling this remarkable and historic story. So with me in the studio today, we have Stephanie Prentice, our reporter. So Stephanie, let's start once again with the Times today, which throughout the week, the Times had this wraparound page before you get to the actual meat of the story. And it has simply her coffin there in Westminster Hall, her crown and glory is their headline.
Absolutely. So another special edition from the Times here. And as you can see, they're leading with the pageantry around the Queen lying in state. So if you turn to page 2, there's that souvenir keepsake for readers there. There's the order of service and everything that happened that led to the Queen being left and lying in state yesterday evening. And it takes us through some of the analysis of what happened there when the royal family were part of that procession. So it says, King Charles put on, in their words, a united front with his sons, the Prince of Wales and the Duke of Sussex. And it's actually the first time we have seen them all together since they travelled to Balmoral last week. It says Prince Harry and the Duke of York, because they're not working members of the royal family, weren't wearing the military uniforms. And it takes us through some of the details. And what it actually gets across as a sort of sentiment of theirs is that now the Queen has been left in the care of the nation, which leads us to page 3. This is the live stream. So this is the live stream of all the people that we've seen queuing over the past few days to be able to go in to Westminster Hall and pay their respects. Now the live stream is actually showing people walking through. They're allowed to go past the coffin very slowly. There are quite a lot of rules around this. You can see them there. They're waiting there during the changing of the guards, which happens for the lucky people that manage to hit that time. Mostly people coming through have to keep on walking. We've seen people stopping, they've been crying, they've been praying, and they've been paying their respects. Now,
and watching it is quite mesmerising, isn't it? Because, I mean, I've got that screen in the corner of the studio and you can't help but cast your eye on what's happening right now live in Westminster Hall. And this is what's saying in the Times, isn't it? Saying tens of thousands of people are expected to tune in.
Yes, when this first launched, you can find it on our website, BBC News, and when it first launched, 20,000 people were tuning in. I've actually been watching it more than I care to admit, and every time I click on it, there's 6,000, 7,000, even through the night, people watching. It's proving very popular. In fact, it hasn't been without its drama. Around 1 a.m. this morning, one of the guards actually fainted that had been guarding the coffin. So eventful times down there as well.
And that's you can see there on our website, that is the live stream. So if you wish to tune in, do so, and you can watch what's happening in Westminster Hall as it happens. And so let's move on then, shall we, to the Eye. The front page of the Eye, it's got a wider shot of the interior of Westminster Hall, and their headline simply, The Long Goodbye.
Yes, so The Independent, again, have been focusing on the Queen lying in state, and they've gone through some of the details of that, the pageantry and the royal family attending. Over on page 8, however, they do get into something else, which is something that's been dealt with slightly over the past few days. As we know, on Monday for the bank holiday, a number of public services will be closing, and also things like GP appointments have been cancelled, and that has been divisive in some quarters. And what the Eye are focusing on in this particular page is that food banks could be closing on Monday, and they're saying that's prompting concern for some people and that it might affect the poorest in society.
Yeah, I've had a look at this article, and it talks about some of the key providers around the country when it comes to food banks. I mean, one of the statistics I read was just quite incredible. Fair Share, which is in Yorkshire, it provides food to 428 other charities. So they provided 4.2 million meals last year. I mean, the scale of this, and right now with the cost of living crisis being a very real issue for households across the country, these food banks are critical, aren't they?
Yeah, they couldn't be more needed. And obviously the cost of living crisis is ongoing, which does lead us nicely to the FT. If we do head to page 2 of the FT,
Financial Times, yeah.
Yeah, a story which under any other news agenda would have been front page headlines. So this is inflation rates actually decreasing slightly. So they've gone down to 9.9%.
In the month of August.
In the month of August, compared to 10.1 in July. Now, not a huge reason for celebration because it's still a 40-year high.
Yeah, but what's symbolic about this is everybody was predicting inflation would creep up a bit more. So the fact that it's come down is a huge relief. And the article points out that a month or so ago, there were predictions we'd be looking at inflation next year at 15%. Some said 18%. But now most economists believe we could be around the 9% level, which is still one of the highest in the G7, but better than 15, 18%.
some slight reasons to be cheerful. We'll take them when we can get them at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's head over to the tabloids. So the Star, they've led on, actually. They've changed it up. They've led on the narrative, which is reflected in all the papers this morning, but they've led on the dynamic between the Fab Four as we once knew them. And that, of course, is the new Prince and Princess of Wales and the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And they've been seen together for the first time since we saw them in Windsor, actually, looking at the tributes and the flowers there. They've been seen together as the Queen was laid in state. And the Star have gone across that. They've said bond of brothers. They've said Wills and Harry united in a moving tribute, and they've done analysis of the four of them there and how they've interacted during that service, and they're referring it in their words as a truce between the four of them.
And a lot's been said about this since the day when the four of them were greeting mourners in Windsor, which was lovely to see. And this is one of the good things that many are saying is coming out of this huge historic event, that these brothers are perhaps becoming closer again, and there are some, reconciliation between them all.
I mean, undeniably, there's been rumours of this tension, hasn't there? None of them proven, but what we can definitely say is that they have all come together for this occasion, and they're doing all of the major public things together.
You wanted to look at the Daily Mail.
I did. The Daily
front
Mail
page. She lies at peace as people bid solemn farewells. Many images of the coffin itself.
Yes, this is another special edition, and it's actually, of all of them, it's a visual feast. Of what the Daily Mail have done is put together all of the most iconic images from yesterday when the Queen was laid to rest in state, and they've got the royals all together here. If you look over the pages 4 and 5, they've gone through all the major parts of that service, and you can see all the main members of the royal family there as they've left the Queen's coffin in Westminster Hall. And so
this image I thought was fascinating because I was watching this live on the BBC as it was happening, and this was an angle we couldn't see. So the papers bring out, don't they, all the different angles that you don't see when you're watching it on television.
They do, absolutely, and that's why these special editions are so important and are so popular. People can keep them, and they've got these memories with them forever. And as you said, they've got all of the angles that take you right into the action. So that's a good one from the Mail this morning.
A visual feast from the Daily Mail. And then finally we're on to the Guardian at the end.
Yes, so on to the Guardian, and we love this story. So basically there was a play about the Queen.
Yes.
And it was about her relationship with Margaret Thatcher. That was due to start last week. When the news was announced, they cancelled it initially, and then the people that were putting the play on decided, let's go ahead anyway, and we'll just see what happens and see how it's received. And what they found this week is it was received very well by the people attending. They got amazing feedback. And as the lead, she's called Marion Bailey, she said, I thought to myself, I'll channel the Queen and her attitude, and I thought she would have just gotten on with it.
Yes, and it's called Handbagged,
and
it's about the relationship between the Queen and Margaret Thatcher when she was Prime Minister. She was Prime Minister for 11 years, so they would have met every single week for their chat for 11 years. And it's quite interesting what people say about their relationship, that there was quite a bit of rivalry. They were the same age. Margaret Thatcher 6 months older than the Queen. Two female leaders in very prominent positions at a time when there were very few women in power. So it's a very interesting sort of story to tell, isn't it? And this play does just that.
And indeed, and actually the people that wrote it have said, if anything, the Queen comes across as the goody, if you will, of the piece in this. So it's very respectful.
And actually, more interestingly, they say she comes across in the play as more sort of socialist, whereas Margaret Thatcher was pushing through a huge reform and change, as we all know well from our history of her leadership as Prime Minister. So the papers... a real feast today, as you say. So many beautiful images and memories to be kept. The front page of The Guardian looks at King Charles III solemnly looking as he, very important moment for him. And he's got a day to relax today, hasn't he? He
has indeed. So as you know, King Charles has been up and down the country. He's travelled around 1,400 miles since the news about his mother was announced. And it's been announced that he is going to have a day off tomorrow. He's not going to do any public duties. Today, we're in the morning.
You've been here all through the night.
I have been here all night.
It's now Thursday, Stephanie, and you've done a brilliant job.
I will rest like King Charles.
Go and get a rest.